Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Factorio Bob's Angels, episode 22. We start off with tradition by having a look at that big, horrible red cloud, which just gets bigger and bigger. I'm going to have to sort that out soon, because I think I mentioned it last episode. It could potentially crash the game if it gets too big, or end the series in some weird mechanical way. So yeah, I made a little change in between episodes, only one. I've given the basic sorting of Jivolite priority over the crystal sorting, with a circuit condition on the output of the warehouse for the Jivolite crushed ore. Because while I was recording this episode, I realised one of my experiences from my last personal playthrough of Angels was my crystal sorting was too big. I was getting too much of the extra Bob's ores, and I kind of completely forgot about that lesson. And in this series, I've gone and doubled the rate in which that ore type of ore sorting is going to be done. So I started to consider in this episode that my ore sorting area is actually too big, and we're just going to be stockpiling the carnivores that we don't really need much of late game, like alumina and all the other ones I can't remember the names of. So yeah, I need to decide how I'm going to go about that, because I don't really want to go and build 6 of those areas, one for each ore, and find that we're just going to be stockpiling masses of ores that we don't need. We do keep getting attacked down in the little bottleneck there that hasn't been touched in ages. That's because just before I started recording, I did pop down there briefly to check on it, which has triggered the nearby bases to start attacking. And one of them so close that as the walls kill some of the biters coming at it, it triggers the base to attack again. And it's this kind of perpetual loop of attacks until it kills one at, a distance that's not so bad. So I go down there to check it because stuff's been destroyed, which is inevitably going to cause more attacks. So at some point I need to look at upgrading these defenses here, and as soon as the military train is running, get it to come and refuel this area, and potentially do what I've been maybe deciding to do with the military train, with having a logistics network where I never have to go and check it, because it'll be provided with everything it needs to replace anything that gets destroyed and re-arm itself. I think that should be fairly doable. But yeah, I'm probably going to have to cut down the size of the advanced sorting, stick to the more basic kinds, along with the varieties where you combine 2 different crushed ores to get iron or copper, or the slightly more complex methods for other ores that we're falling behind on. Because from my past experience, it's actually quite hard to balance out the angels or sorting. But anyone with any advice on that would be grateful. I might go look up any discussions on it to try and work out what I'm going to do. But that's going to be, it's not an immediate priority. Our immediate issues are lack of iron, but now also lack of copper. So my solution for the lack of copper is to patch in one of the 2 Crotinium patches that are available. There's one in the southeast and another in the southwest, both of which are quite close to biter territory. So we need to work out which one we're going to use, and then once we've decided that, we'll need to increase its defenses, because it's going to cause regular attacks. And to be honest, with the amount of biter killing I've been doing, I really can't be asked to push the biters out outside of the perimeter of where the pollution is going to be, because that would be the most ideal solution. But yeah, I'm sick of killing biters. This being the 3rd episode of us trying to push up to the sapphirite, and hopefully it's the last that consists of just pure killing. The next one will hopefully be us doing actually connecting the sapphirite up, but some of it will be sorting out some more permanent defenses for it, because we do end up with a fairly crude setup. In fact, a lot of it's non-existent. Still needs putting in. Anyway, we'll get to that later on in the episode. So as you can see, we're just doing some standard killing. This is an hour's worth of gameplay. I did want to play for more, but this is all I had time to record, and I wanted to get the episode out today. The other thing I wanted to talk about this episode is how often videos are coming out. I'm actually going away in 7 days' time for 2 weeks, and I've had to think how I want to go about it. I could either get some videos ready, and about 4 or 5 days into me going away, they'll stop coming out until I get back. Or I thought I could do as many videos as I can this week and start releasing them from today on once every other day, so that then I can produce enough videos to cover the 2 weeks that I'm away. The only downside is they'll come out every other day, but it means they'll come out regularly until I come back, and then I'll have time to do one every day again, because it's nice to keep up with that schedule. It's nice to have the factory growing quickly, because I'm constantly anxious with not getting on with certain things, and I feel like I've been stuck in this stalemate of lack of resources for far too long now, and nothing's really happened with the factory. I want to get it running at full steam. I want to get it alive, producing a nice big red cloud of pollution. There's just a few things I need to sort out before that happens. But once they are sorted, we can get the factory up and running and actually get some science done, because there's a hell of a lot we need to get through. Just can't really afford to at the moment. So at this point, we get an extremely large group of biters that were out hunting for us after we left earlier. It's one of the biggest ones I think I've seen, and I'm pretty sure you don't get groups of biters like that in vanilla. That'll be attributed to a combination of rampant AI and the Bob's warfare, but a pretty big group there. So basically what we're doing now, we're pushing up to the bottleneck west of the Saphirite, and we'll also need to sort out some defences north and northeast of the Saphirite. But I want to know what's under the fog of war. I want to know what sort of geography we're dealing with. If there's some nice bottlenecks nearby, I'll want to utilise them rather than building a ridiculously huge wall that can be made up mostly of water. I think that's a point as to why they've never given us the ability to put water in. We can put landfill in, but if we had the ability to put water in, we could create some pretty impressive bottlenecks to deal with. So we're currently at 0.8599 evolution there. We're pushing it pretty hard at the moment. But yeah, it's kind of necessary for the game to continue. We've been stuck in this stalemate for too long. The factory's been the same for too long. I'm not happy not doing any research. We've not done any research for like, what, 4 or 5 episodes now, which is pretty humiliating. Normally in a single player, I'd slob around for as long as I like and avoid doing science, but it's just not acceptable with this being a series on YouTube. We need to get some science done. We've been stuck in the dark ages for far too long. So once we got this sorted and we get in a better position resource wise, we can set the science off again, upgrade the smelting area, because we're going to need a lot more iron to be doing blue science. The research revolution uses a huge amount of iron, so we're going to up that production, and I want to get rid of the basic stone smelters. We're not ready for electric smelters yet. I need to look at getting solar panels and accumulators set up. That's going to be something fairly soon, as soon as we've got the resources, basically as soon as we've got the copper and iron, because I much prefer solar over steam. We've got a pretty big pollution cloud as it is around the steam, and I don't really want to expand it much more. We've got the proper station to build. I'm going to try this idea with the circuit conditions, so a train is never sent from an outpost unless that ore is actually needed, and that's going to allow me to do a belt loader omni station thing. I'm not going to use loaders coming directly out of the carriages, but it is going to be used to sort the ores coming from the unloading into the various storages for the unprocessed ore. I also need to work out uranium power. It's not going to be completely solar. Solar is going to be next, because I'm not sure I want to do a nuclear power immediately. I've never done it before, so I need to learn how it's done. We do have a lot of uranite building up, so I do need to do it fairly soon. Maybe I should consider doing nuclear before solar. I don't know. I'm just more confident with getting solar done quickly. I can get it out and do it in a fairly alright way. I don't necessarily follow an exact ratio between solar panel and accumulator, but I just sort of keep a rough eye on the power. If we don't charge the accumulators by the end of the day, then we need more solar. If we're running out of accumulators at night, then we need more accumulators. But I would like to try and create some sort of system where the backup steam engine, where the steam engine is a backup. I used to do this in a really crude way with electronic inserters, where if there was power, they would have some weird belt loop where they would take the coal off, and the coal would only ever go through if the power ran out, and then you'd have burner inserters to feed the steam engines. Now that doesn't really work, because as soon as the power station has to be used as a backup, it kind of has to be reset manually, and it was just never very reliable. But I believe you can use the on-off switch now with a circuit condition to say switch on when a widening accumulator is below a certain percentage of power. So I'd like to try that, because it is cool having steam as a backup, but I want to use solar primarily and accumulators. But if doing nuclear power before solar would make more sense, then I might do that. I haven't looked at what science is needed to research it, or if I've even researched it already. I know I've picked up one of the parts of nuclear power, but we do have plenty of uranite that we can use. So yeah, there's going to be an episode from now on every other day, or maybe every 3 days, depending how many I can create between now and me going away. I do have quite a bit of work on at the same time, but every opportunity I'll get, I will be recording, because I am really enjoying creating this series. It's been good fun. The only downside is I can't do my usual Factorio playthrough style where I'll just zombie out and sit there for 8 hours and get loads done. That's the only downside. I like doing the commentary after the hours playthrough I've done, so I can remember roughly what I've done in it, and it's fairly relevant. If I sat down and did 3 or 4 hours, 3 or 4 episodes worth of recording and then did the commentary, I'd probably forget half the things that I did, because my memory on those sorts of things is pretty useless. So we start laying out roughly where this wall's going to be in the bottleneck. I like having it back a bit from the bases, so that there's less likely to be attacks when I come up near this. Me being near the biters causing attacks is what I mean by that. And also the pollution cloud shouldn't pass this wall too much, but depending on how much mining we put in, we'll see. But I generally cock up the placement of turrets here a little bit while getting attacked most of the time. These basically need to be laid out fairly neatly so that inserters can be placed to pass ammunition along, and so that I can also incorporate laser turrets within this, but also keep in the gun turrets for if the power ever runs out, just as a backup, and just a combination of the two. But primarily, once we've got the good laser turrets, they will be the primary form of defense. The only reason I haven't gone into laser turrets yet is our lack of power production. We've been on the edge of our power capabilities for a while, and I haven't really got the resources to deal with that with solar, and I don't really want to increase that cloud of pollution from the steam, because that's just going to cause more attacks. And I've done enough biter clearing. I don't want to have to clear more around the steam at the moment. And with laser turrets as well, I don't think the Mark 1 laser turrets are going to be strong enough to deal with this. And to get the upgraded ones, I need to get the rubies and the crystals, or whatever they are, which requires some form of sorting. It's been a while since I've done it. I can't quite remember. But again, that's going to take resources or power or whatever. I think it's from the geodes. You do the crystal slurry or whatever it is, and and you process them out of that. But I believe they've changed the geodes you get from the crystal processing since I last did it, because there seemed to have been an imbalance in the kind of geodes that you get. So we'll see what happens with that. But as soon as I can get laser on the go, the better, really. I'll basically create a second wall in front of the gun turrets for lasers, but it'll be quite compact so that the sniper and gun turrets can still help out. It just means we'll be using power over throwing our resources physically in the biters' faces. We'll be throwing, hopefully, free sunlight in their faces, and nuclear power. So a couple of the mods that I have installed, I haven't really talked about mods much in the last few episodes, so it's a good subject to talk about. We've got the bullet tracer or bullet mod or whatever it is. What it does is, you can see, and I've probably noticed already with all the bite killing, it shows physical bullets coming out of the gun turrets. And along with that, I got the laser turret mod. So lasers don't really fire these auto-tracking blobs of light in the air, or at least in theory they don't. They should fire beams of energy, and those beams shouldn't really make any noise apart from the sound of the boiling bite of blood, if they do have blood, or if they just have artifacts, I don't know. And also there should really only be the sound of the immense amount of energy going through the turret. So I think if you stand near a turret, it does make a weird noise, instead of a pew pew noise with weird auto-tracking balls of light in the air. I quite like that mod. It looks kind of cool. But yeah, so I thought that was a couple of aesthetic mods that make things look nice. So yeah, look at that. Look what's on the screen. It's bloody Saphirite. After 3 goddamn episodes of continuous biter slaying, I am pretty ecstatic. Or past me is pretty happy. He's got Saphirite to at least display on the screen, which is amazing. I couldn't believe my bad luck, or past me's bad luck, whichever me it was, with the map generation, how far the first Infinite Saphirite patch was away from us. The Javolite patch was pretty close, and that first Bob's Angel of Death was pretty quick. I was surprised how easy it was we got there. And then to my horror, as the radars scanned out, that for several episodes, I can't remember how many it was exactly, that Saphirite never appeared. We've got some Bobmonium to the east. I haven't seen where Rubites first popped up. I think that might be quite far out. But yeah, this is pretty far up north to have to deal with this early in the game. So this is the culprit of our really slow start, the fact that the factory hasn't done anything for ages. But yeah, copper is now equally as an issue as iron is. I don't know if that sentence made sense there. It didn't feel quite right. But yeah, I'm absolutely elated when I was recording this that we had Saphirite in view. I was very happy. The episode before this, I started to feel a bit of despair. I thought, how am I actually going to reach this? Like, it felt like it was untouchable, and that even if I could get slightly close to it, I was going to have massive problems being able to access it. And I think I will, sort of, but just getting it on screen and getting it cleared felt brilliant. And of course, I wasn't paying attention because of how great I was feeling, that I crashed into the water void, or whatever they're called. So I come and build the highest available radar that I could build on me at the time, because I was getting up to an hour's worth of gameplay, and I needed to head off as soon as this was finished. This was last night. So what I also do is I come and grab some of the turrets. We just see how that's going. We are going to need some next episode, so I leave that running, even though it's using all of our resources at the moment. And I get some solar panels manually created, because what I want to do is just set up this radar with a minimum number of solar panels to power it. In fact, I don't actually build enough. I'm a few behind, because I want this radar to quickly scan the local area so I can see the geography, and next episode I can decide the most efficient way I can put in defenses to allow us to actually mine it. Because if I just go and mine it now, it's just going to get torn to pieces because of the pollution. So we need to adequately defend the Saphirite. So that's where our resources are going to be going to next episode. So yeah, there may be a bit more biter slaying, but we can at least safely lay most of the track up here and put in some sort of crude defense, and maybe look at possibly mining the Saphirite. I think next episode I may also look at tapping one of the Crotinium patches, because that should be fairly easy to do, being as they're already uncovered. And we are actually lacking copper more than iron at this point, but that's mainly due to the piercing ammo and turret production. So I start by walling myself in with turrets here. I change my mind. I'm not really thinking straight. I'm just drunk on the sight of Saphirite. I then try to head over to the wall, trying to avoid a relatively large patch of biters, and I think maybe I can put it up here. So I put in some turrets to deal with that patch. I take a look at the evolution, which is at now 0.8659, I think that is, and I put in the radar for a second time. Now it's being powered at about 3/4 power, which is enough to at least have a look at some of the local area and scan vaguely at daytime. But next episode I will give it enough power to scan properly. And then my third choice of placement is right next to this wall, because we've already got some defenses here, so I might as well stick them here. But that's going to be all we have time for this episode. We are getting attacked down at the south because of the pollution, but we'll deal with that next episode. I do hope you have enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video. Bye bye.